so welcome back to my channel. Today I'm working with this square flip it die from the Stamps of Life. So it has in the middle of a square shape. I'm sure most of you that are watching this probably have seen flip it cards in the past, but this one, so a lot of them are different shapes, like they might be circles or ovals or rectangles or flowers in the middle. This one is a square in the middle. And this comes with the center that says Big Hugs, and there's several different layering pieces on here. So you have several different squares. There's this really fun one that has a bunch of polka dots on it, and then you have an outside layering piece for that. And then you have the Big Hugs. You have a couple of flowers and their shadow layers. You have a flower pot and the stem with a leaf. You also have a happy birthday that you can put on the inside. So this inside can be changed from Big Hugs to happy birthday. And there's also a thank you that you can use for the center. So we have our large die, which this is actually your card base. And then we have your layering pieces that go inside each of these panels that you can die cut with various color cardstock or pattern paper. So for my card base, I am going to be using a piece of the spearmint cardstock from the Stamps of Life. This is the darker green, and I'm going to run this die through my die cut machine. So when that comes out of the die cut machine, you'll see that there are score lines, so you'll just need to fold at these score lines. And you always have a little front, so this is the front flap, and then the larger flap is the back, so that makes your flip it card base. So now we need to decide what papers we want to use for our panels, and that's where these dies come in. So these dies will cut out your pattern paper, and if you wanted to use solid cardstock, you can do that as well. So I've chosen this pattern paper, and I've chosen it because I just love the vivid colors, and it also has the flowers in it, just like the die has these flowers in it, and they're very similar flowers, so that's why I chose this paper. This is from the Hey Friend collection, which looks like this. And also, I want you to notice that the leaves on these flowers are in the spearmint color, so that's why I went with the spearmint card base. So I'm going to cut both of my panels out of this pattern paper, and when I do that, I'm going to make sure that I put washi tape on these dies, because if they were to shift at all, then my flowers are not going to be straight. So I am going to try and use up the most of this pattern paper as I can, so I'm starting pretty much at the edge there. And then I'll do the same thing with this one. And then after I have these lined up, these will go through my die cut machine. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere these down. I always like to lay this panel flat when I'm adhering these panels. It just makes it easier than if it were folded. So look how pretty that's coming together. So now we need to figure out what we're going to do for the middle portion. We definitely know we're using these squares. So we have a couple of these different squares. I really like those dots, so I'll probably use that. And then we have these sentiments, the Big Hugs, the thank you, and the happy birthday. So we need to decide which one we're going to use for that. So I have already taken this larger square, and I just die cut 2 out of the white cardstock. That's going to be the pieces for this front and back. And then I'm going to take my thank you and the dotted squares, and I'm going to die cut this out of the spearmint, which is the same green color. Now this is a drop-in die, so this is going to have to be placed inside of the larger square in order for it to be cut out. Now before I do that, I am going to put some double-sided adhesive on the back of this cardstock. So once I have the double-sided adhesive, I'm going to run the die through the die cut machine just like this. That's going to allow me to cut this out. So when that comes out of the die cut machine, just lift all of those dies off of there, and then you'll just need to weed out the portions that you do not need. So once it's all weeded out, then you're going to take your white square, and this will just layer right on top. And it already has the double-sided adhesive on the back. Look how pretty that is. So then I'm going to open this up, lay this flat, and go ahead and glue this on. All right, so here's what we have so far. So I went ahead and die cut the flower pot as well as the leaf and the flower. I did do the larger flower, not the smaller flower. So I have the shadow layer in the flower pot, that's in the white, and then the top piece, this comes in two parts, so that way if you wanted to maybe have a different color piece for the rim of the flower pot, you can, but I'm just sticking with the red here. I'm using the same red that's in the pattern paper, which is, this is the strawberry color. And for my flower, I want to go ahead and do some ink blending before I attach that. So I am going to use my banana ink, and I'm just going to just put some banana ink around the edges of the leaves. Okay, and then I need to do I did the piece that cuts out the actual stem and the leaf, but I need to do the shadow layer. So let me go ahead and get the shadow layer die cut. I'm going to do that also, I believe, out of the spearmint paper. So this little piece of the stem is definitely going to need double-sided adhesive on the back. I didn't do it on the first one. I don't know what I was thinking, so I went ahead and ran it through my die cut machine again with double-sided adhesive on the back of the cardstock, and then that is going to just layer on top of the shadow layer, because you can see how intricate this is. I mean, can you imagine trying to get glue on the back of that? That would be impossible. All right, so I'm ready to put this together, and notice that my original flower pot, and then I had to redo it. I do not like that white space, and I don't know why I did that initially, so I redid it and closed up that white space because it just did not look good. So I'm gonna go ahead and adhere my flower pot down to the front panel. I'm gonna use a white epoxy dot for the center. That one's a little too big. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and attach this. If you wanted to stamp it, you can, or you can just leave it blank. This will be room to write your message. All right, so that completes this Flip It card. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Bye-bye.